Bleu, where we introduce you to who is building Arizona, bringing you the people and businesses that shape the landscape around us. From economic development and developers, underwriters and lenders, architects and engineers, to the very builders and suppliers that bring it all together. Now let's join our hosts, Robert Johnson and JJ Levinsky, aka Mac and Blue.
Wow. It has been a long time. A long time. He doesn't know this, I don't think, but it's been every bit of 4 weeks for me. And it's been 3 for you.
Yeah.
I'm Robert Johnson, Vice President of Business Development at Torrey Contracting. You are JJ Levinsky, President at Blue Wave General Contracting.
There you go.
How you doing?
Good. How are you? Long time no see.
Yeah. And batteries not included,
Batteries not
but
included.
a beautiful shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For those of you listening, I look good.
Yeah. And for anybody that's watching, yeah, he's a liar. Daryl, our famous producer. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
Did you miss me?
Yes, I did. It's been a while.
Yeah. But did you miss me? Really, truly miss me?
Truly, I did. Yes.
Awesome.
It's been very hard to control.
We missed
JJ.
this place.
So for anyone that doesn't know, we were on an every other Thursday schedule, and we decided to go to an every Monday schedule. So that was the gap, if you will, on why Mac and Blue was kind of silent for a while. And then you throw in the 4th of July holiday and the fact that 90% of Arizona leaves the state in July.
Not just July, but pretty much July through August, September.
So with that,
yeah, our guest today is Casey Kendel with Phoenix Prosperity North Advisors.
That is correct.
I got it. I did it without looking.
is he a doctor?
No, he's going to tell us that in a minute.
Oh, okay.
Welcome.
I do have the student loans of a doctor.
Oh, wow.
If that counts.
Oh, one of you guys that has a bunch of acronyms behind his name that don't mean anything.
Exactly.
Tell us what you do.
Yeah.
And for who you do it.
Absolutely. So I own and operate with my wife, Prosperity North Advisors. We are a independent insurance brokerage firm located in Gilbert.
Awesome.
Okay.
You're an East Valley guy. I'm a West Valley guy. And how come everybody that comes in here is an East Valley people?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Could be the attraction or
just happens to be where everything's happening. But,
so Casey, we'll go down, we'll allow you to elaborate on a lot of that, but in the context of, what Mac and Blue is about, which is building Arizona, it doesn't just mean general contracting. Our audience is anything related to what's building Arizona. And we reached out to you because you have a high presence on LinkedIn and other social media platforms with what you're doing on what Casey's Corner, correct?
Correct.
Right. And so, if you would just explain what that is, and then maybe we'll go back and talk a little bit insurance and then go back and forth between kind of the two things or anything else that you've got. But this is all about paying it forward on this podcast and trying just to expose everyone in the Valley or outside the Valley of what we're doing collectively as all of us in our different industries to help build our Arizona.
Sure.
So with that, go ahead.
So I'm an insurance guy. It's what I do. Do I love insurance? Yes, I do. I'm probably the only guy you'll ever meet who loves insurance. However, there is no way to promote your own insurance business without looking like a jerk unless you're promoting someone else. So I've found that the best way to promote my business is to promote somebody else's business. Thus, Casey's Corner was born. So Casey's Corner isn't quite a podcast. It's not a television show. It's on all forms of social media. So YouTube, very big on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, even the TikTok, so to speak. And what I do is I highlight local small businesses in and around the East Valley. And so that I spend anywhere from 5 to 7 minutes, typically. Sometimes it'll be more, sometimes it'll be less. Could be up to 10 to 15 minutes in some cases, where I just interview a business owner and understand who their ideal client is, who they're servicing, how long they've been around, how they got started in it. It's not quite the in-depth that you might get in a podcast, but it gives them an opportunity to get their message out. I put all their contact information in, and I put their logo in there, and I push it out to all forms of social media. And I've had to battle, I think, what you might call the big tech giant, so to speak, of either videos getting squished. A lot of these social media, if you're not paying them or paying for the
Right.
space,
Right.
they're not going to promote the video. It's not going to hit specific algorithms, those types of things. So I've had to take necessary steps to make sure that that message is getting out. So one of the things that I've pivoted for is not just throwing up a whole episode on a Thursday and saying, please watch the next 7 minutes, but cutting it into 1 minute segments.
Yeah. Wisdom. Yeah.
So,
Okay, keep going. Sorry.
so being able to not necessarily do it in order, but give a 1 to 2 minute sound bite and say the full video will be released. Here's where to find it.
Yeah.
And how long have you been doing this now?
So Casey's Corner was established in 2020 at the height of the pandemic.
Right.
So
Was it because of the pandemic?
It
Was it driven? I mean, it was driven.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely. So I actually found myself out of work.
Mhm.
Thus Prosperity North was born.
Interesting.
Because I had to. And again, I needed to promote my own business by promoting somebody else's business. And I really try to take a servant leadership approach in facilitating somebody else's success however that I can. So I lead a purpose-driven life, practicing conscious capitalism. There's enough for us all to go around.
Right.
And if you've got a business, you're not necessarily a multi-level marketing scheme, or maybe a decent one. I don't know. But if you've got a business or an LLC or an idea, I've interviewed someone who had an Etsy shop because she wanted to sell that because she was staying home with her daughter.
Right.
So,
Man, there's so much wisdom in what you're doing.
Yeah.
A lot of people just don't get that. They don't get how much you can do for yourself by shining the light on somebody else. I'm sitting here thinking when he was talking and we were all grinning at each other, it's like, what are we doing here? Yeah, no, it's fantastic. I mean, hats off to you.
appreciate it.
Boy, my mind's exploding now to ask you a million questions and I can't even focus on one. Start with, I've noticed you've had a lot of construction related people on. Is that on, and do you do that on purpose, or are they typically your clients, or how does that work?
So, to be honest with you, I haven't had a whole lot of clients on, so to
Okay.
speak. I have had clients on. And in fact, when I'm scheduling a Casey's Corner, I just say to someone very simply, I'm not asking to write your insurance. All I'm asking is that if you or someone you know is making an insurance decision, just keep me in mind in the future and I'll promote the crap out of you. And wouldn't you know how many times I get tagged in Facebook where someone's looking for an insurance guy and they say, talk to Casey. And I don't write their insurance, but I've taken the time to do that for them. So going back to the original question,
Right.
contractors. I like contractors. That's where I cut my teeth. That's how you and I met.
True.
Originally, I was working for a large firm that was strictly going after contractors. So it's gone that natural route just because I'm highly trained in working with contractors and what that liability means and what it's like to get out a certificate of insurance. Otherwise, that job can't get going, those types of things. So I'm naturally drawn to that market. But basically, if you have an insurance need, I will look at that for you.
So if I look at the next people on Casey's Corner, are they coming to you or are you going out to them? Or both?
I can't. Well, that's not true. I think it's probably a 50-50 split. You would be surprised how many people reach out, like the idea, but then don't show up.
Oh, yeah, we can believe it.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Do a podcast. You'll
Do a
learn.
podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or they'll never get back to you, or they won't be prepared, or
You know what I think some of that is? I really believe some of it is fear. I
Could be.
believe that it's people that get real excited about the possibility It's like, oh, you're talking to them and they're just jazzed. And then they stop and think about the fact that they're going to have to be on an interview with you. And they just come up with other things to do. And some of it can legitimately be busy, but I think some of it is, it's easy for us because we do this now weekly on Mondays at 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. But
but we're not intimidating, are we? Maybe the way we dress, but other than that, maybe a little
you're
smell.
a pretty intimidating guy.
The smell, maybe, but
Yeah.
beyond that,
I mean, it's very difficult to get over the sound of your own voice. I mean, that's
true.
Something
that
simple.
is true.
You know, a lot of times when I'm picking up my studio, so to speak, I'll just put it on play just to make sure that they're comfortable with it, and we're, you know, just reviewing it at the highest level. And inevitably, 50% of the time, someone will say, "I hate the way my voice sounds."
Yeah.
Well,
So
we all do.
let's go back. You made me think of like what I wanted you to talk about, so that the audience can appreciate what you've done, the leaps of faith that you've done, and the conscious capitalism that you're talking about. What can you give for advice of on your own journey? Like, A, how did you start the journey? I'll go into a little bit deeper, and then B, you know, the why and the how behind it, because I would think that a lot of people in the audience, one of the main reasons I wanted you on was we took the podcast approach. You're doing it in a slightly different way, but yet it's super effective as well.
Mhm.
I mean, I see how many people are watching you, following you, liking you, and that isn't what the three of us around this table, that isn't why we do it. We do it to pay it forward and to expose all these things that we
Sure.
want to talk about to the greater good of what we're trying to accomplish. But in that, because you did a little bit different route than we did, that's one of the main reasons I wanted you on, to talk about that. So if you can, just peel back that onion a little bit, talk about maybe what did you and your wife decide to do this, and then how does it work each week or every other week? Like, you know,
Sure.
like where's the jazz and how and why? Like, give people the comfort and the leap of faith type thing of what you've done.
So 50% of why I'm here is to figure out how to do a podcast.
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
That was good. Well, you sign on the dotted line, pay a little bit of money,
And there you have it. No,
and make sure Daryl's in your corner.
but it's very similar to what you're doing.
Yes, it's not as advanced. In
Yeah.
fact, I would think that that's probably one of the things that is shocking is a tough word, but rudimentary, I think, is a better word. I literally film it on an iPad that sits in front of us, that with 2 lapel mics from a splitter cable.
Technology is amazing today,
And
and it looks good.
I edit it in an app, and I can edit a 10-minute video in probably 15 minutes, throwing in logos and everything. So that's also actually my set on there. So I'm sorry, JJ, where?
Well, just like, what encumbrances do you have, or what challenges do you have? And what I'm trying to do is give the audience, because Robert and I try to do it every week with the podcast. Like, you can do podcasting. Like, we're not afraid. We would love it that if a lot of our guests and a lot of our audience would do their own in whatever is meaningful to them. That's kind of the message we want to get across with you today. Is so someone listening or someone watching on the YouTube video, they would say, "Oh, Casey inspired me. I'm looking for that sauce."
Yeah.
Like, the why and the how, and what encumbrances do you have? What is it when you go to produce it? How do you get the people? All those kind of things.
And what it's doing for your business.
Yeah,
Sure.
Ultimately.
Sure.
or for their business.
Yeah.
Well, so going back, I think maybe a lot of people who are maybe either no call, no show, look at that and say, "Oh boy, I wish it had more views. Is my time worth that squeeze?" And I've had people say, "Oh, well, that video only had 2,000 views." Well, it's not about the amount of views; it's who viewed it. Did they gain any customers from that? Now, in a constant effort, one of my core values of always self-improvement, I could see where, one, I should have pre-canned questions. Right now, I pretty much wing it based off of what their business is. So maybe a little bit more in the pocket, so to speak, in talking with them. But following up, did it help? One thing that I wish I could get over to my guests more is, it's on me to share it as much as I do, but it's also on you. put it on your Facebook page, put it on your website. You should be sharing it. I will give you all of the content. You can chop it up and make it however you want it to look. So I think that that's probably the biggest area of improvement that I have. When I threw it out there, it was really, I had no idea what I was doing. No idea. Why did I do it? I wasn't chasing a spotlight or anything like that.
No.
It's really, it was more about how can I get in front of business owners, decision makers, without hawking insurance.
No, it's the exact message. It's the
Yeah.
exact same thing that we are doing here.
Here.
We do love shining the spotlight on others, and it's very genuine for us. However, it does open up avenues for us to talk to people, see people. We never pitch ourselves. We never talk.
Well, we technically do on our commercials,
but
but
we've never, I don't know that I've ever walked away from here talking to one of our guests about work.
no, not about our businesses. We don't.
No, about what they do maybe, but never. So yeah, it genuinely does work, and it increases your visibility in doing it. It increases our visibility in doing it. I have a lot of people that tell me they see all the time. So,
Right.
Interesting. We're going to take a break, have a word from a sponsor, and we'll be right back to finish up on some of that.
Torrey Contracting, your full-service Division 9 contractor. Torrey Contracting operates with a smaller, hands-on team. This cohesive structure results in superior workmanship and economical solutions. We deliver projects with unsurpassed commitment to quality and stewardship of budget. Torrey Contracting, small enough to listen, big enough to deliver.
Okay. What's it done? I mean, we've hit you with so many questions here. Go ahead, JJ.
No, you go.
What has it? Just genuine curiosity here. What has it done for your business?
Yeah, I'm part of several networking groups, and in a lot of those networking groups, they talk about the power of one, and the power of one voice going out. And if I can create a little army that is cold calling for me and that is sharing my information, then I've won that game. And that's what I have right now.
Okay.
So over the course of the last 2.5 years, I've interviewed probably 100+ business owners that I could text message, call, send an email to, and ask for a letter of reference, see if they wanted to come back, to share something on social media. And that's really what it's done for me. I would say that in reviewing, just off the top of my head, probably 80% of my book of business comes from Casey's Corner.
Amazing.
There you go.
Yeah.
That is what I wanted.
Yeah, that's exactly what I just kept pulling. Knew we were going to get it. But no, it's amazing. And then the flip side of that is, do you have any insight at all into what it's done for the people you've had on?
That's actually an area that I wish I was better in following up on. And I'm going to write that down because that's important.
Like the Etsy person. I'm just
absolutely.
It's one of those things. I know I can think of a couple of people that we've had on, some of which had big viewing anyway, but it moved the needle for us just having them in a discussion with us. But yeah, it's really quite interesting.
I think as you evolve, I've gotten better at it.
Sure.
I've gotten better at the editing process and the tagging process and putting logos in and those types of things, and had to chop up stuff because it's easier to do it in small bites. And those are all lessons that I've had to learn. And it's going to be different for everybody who's pursuing that.
Right.
But the biggest thing is consistency. I have 2 college degrees because my mom said, show up, you'll get a C. So
I'm processing that statement. Just bear with me. I'm a Pollock. I'm a little slow here.
Show up, you'll get a C. And what does that mean? That means your first videos are going to be horrendous. They're going to be horrible. Ask any movie director what he thought of his first movie, unless you're like Steven Spielberg or something like that. But you can tell when someone's matured. My best friend at one point, when I first started Casey's Corner, he goes, "You're mouthing along with what people are saying." I go, "I'm just trying to think of the next question."
Oh, we've been there before too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that feedback said, "Casey, you have to be an active listener. Be a listener to what they're saying. That way you can start to have a conversation, and I'm not just reading off a list and asking questions."
So on that, what I really like is we have, I would say in our recent past, because we just started this a couple months ago, but we've had some pretty big names and some pretty high profile people on the podcast. What I liked about bringing you in is you represented a different demographic of Building Arizona, which was a lot of the smaller business related people. So that's kind of where I wanted you to go next, and just offer up some advice to all the small business owners that might be listening or watching once this gets published, whether it's live or if someone's listening 5 days from now when this is all over social media. What can you tell that small business owner about your journey so they can have the faith to go do their exposure too? Like how do they emulate you?
Oof.
Well, I don't want them to copy you, but how
Sure.
do you give them the spirit and the inspiration to go do something similar to what you're doing?
Yeah. So it's figuring out what is going to work for them. Having those conversations with like-minded individuals, somebody who sees the big picture, who's not just going to see it as an opportunity to get exposure and move on, but as someone who is looking at it and saying, "Okay, with this information, I am now armed with helping this individual out." So if somebody has again, going back, I'm a servant leader. I learned that and during my master's degree at GCU, which was servant leadership and conscious capitalism. I had no idea what that meant. And I started getting into these studies and learning about those pillars of success and what that meant. And that means something different for everyone. For Casey's Corner, the evolution of standing in a park because it was COVID and we had to stand next to a wall because the Amazon delivery hadn't come for my lapel mics, but now I'm standing here with a guy out in a park, but it's too windy to hear. So we're huddled next to a wall, but we're still going to film because I want that guy's business out because he deserves that. He absolutely deserves that exposure. And if I can help him with that, then there's a possibility that he may retain me and his buddy may retain me and so on and so forth. So the best advice that I can give someone who's looking for that like social media takeoff or a podcast or a show or whatever it is, try different things and what works for you, but just don't be scared to just jump in with both feet.
Yeah. Do it every chance you get. Yeah. You got to start somewhere.
Consistency
Yep.
is key.
So let's go back into a little bit about what your core business is, which is insurance. And what advice do you have for all those small business or regular business owners out there right now in the myriad of what's going on in the insurance world?
What would I give another agent? Like advice?
No, not another agent.
Somebody you want to sell some insurance.
Like
with.
if you were,
Oh, if I was going to sell them insurance?
Yeah.
What's the biggie?
The biggest thing, I do a lot of commercial insurance. I love working with small businesses.
Mm-hmm.
I find them to be not as fickle as maybe an individual might be. What I could tell someone who's looking for commercial insurance or starting, let's say it's a contractor or something, you have to be able to make sure that insurance is aligned. So I believe that insurance should be affordable, aligned, and easy to understand. What does that mean? That means understanding your situation as a whole. Are individuals going to be driving on behalf of your business? Yes or no? No. Okay, then you don't necessarily need hired and non-owned auto because that's just going to be an added expense if no one's going to be driving. Now, if someone's like, oh, I send her to the post office twice a week, that's going to be worth that endorsement. So it's those little things. It's also, again, showing up. I win a lot of business because I show up and I follow up, whether that's an email, a phone call, text message, whatever it is I'm always going to be there. I have an office. I work from home. I've got 2 cell phones. You already talked about that. There's no way that you're not going to get a hold of me. The only way you're not going to get a hold of me is if I don't want to talk to you. And so that means that you should always be there for your clients. You should always be there in every situation, good, bad, or indifferent. I take the philosophy of even if it costs me time or money, I will make any situation right.
Yeah, that's good. So when you're in the insurance business, the business of writing insurance, it's first and foremost about mitigating risk, I would assume. So everybody's risk is different, which is what you're talking about. Their risk of having employees out on the road, driving, whatever those things are. What types of commercial insurance do you write? I mean, is it just general liability? Is it, or can it get, much more boutique than that?
Sure, absolutely. So I do general liability, commercial auto, inland marine, which is also known as property insurance, commercial property insurance. So like a building that we're in right now. It could be healthcare benefits. I am licensed to do those, but I like to partner out with those only because that is such a massive undertaking, and I really feel like that's really important to people. I mean, when you're talking about someone's health, that's the last thing that I want to be on the hook for. Right. But general liability, commercial auto, inland marine, commercial property, work comp. Work comp is probably the most complicated next to commercial auto that a business owner will have to deal with.
And what do you see typically are the landmines or the blind spots for typical business owner on work comp?
There's a ton. But off the top of my head, you have to make sure that you're classified correctly. You have to make sure that your coverages are aligned with whether the ROC or the state has put that on you, or whether a specific vendor, or general contractor, or subcontractor is requesting that. So you could have 100, 500, 100, or 500, 500, 500, or a million, 500. So there's a ton of different options that are in there. And so basically the way that I look at work comp is it's a state pool. So it might as well be a state tax. So you have to have your classifications correct. And if you don't have the right payroll involved in work comp, you're going to come back after an audit and you're going to write a check. So understanding that payroll at the beginning of the year and estimating that, and then possibly adjusting along the way. You might be 6 months into the year going, whoa, we just picked up a huge job. I've just hired 10 people and my payroll is going to shoot up. You have to add that endorsement. Otherwise, you're going to write a check at the end of the year.
And speaking of writing a check at the end of the year, what I know what it means, but I'm just quizzing you, is what, how does that work in the audit? Again, just to explain it to everyone.
Sure. So the way that work comp is classified, it's basically done off of a classification. So I just did one for a painting company.
There you go. Give a good example.
Painting company, their classification is 5474. That's the work classification code for a paint shop, for anyone who's climbing up a ladder and putting paint on a wall. So the way that the premium is calculated is the payroll times that classification rate. So let's say it's $7 divided by 100. So for every $100 that is on your payroll, you're going to pay that $7,
which is based on a risk factor.
Which is based off of a risk factor.
Correct.
A roofer might have a rate factor that's $15 because they might fall off roofs, whereas an office worker, it might be 35 cents.
Got it. And what happens if you cheat it?
If you cheat, you can go to jail for sure.
You know what I mean.
But odds are, you're gonna end up coming out of pocket. So they're
Right.
going to do an audit financial. They're going to audit your financials. They're going to audit your profit and loss and your payroll, and they're going to say, here's what you paid, here's what you should have paid. Now you owe the difference.
Right.
Small businesses get bit so many times.
Yeah.
Because they start. I was a small business guy at one point, did the same thing. It was like, okay, you got to have work comp. Great. Let's go. Somebody talks about state fund, whatever. Just, okay, we got work comp now. Didn't care about whether they had the payroll right. Didn't care about the classification codes. But if you want to stay in business, you have to get that stuff right.
Absolutely.
So you have to find the right people.
And in fact, like the Arizona ROC,
Mhm.
they don't care about general liability. They don't care about your auto insurance. They don't care about your personal property or your commercial property or any of that. The only thing the ROC is ever going to ask you about is your work comp.
Yeah. And, Robert, I was thinking while you were talking of, when I first got in business, I did the same thing. I
Yeah.
just, if I knew a Casey, I didn't know what any of that stuff meant. Now, of course, when you're old salty dogs like us, we've been through it a million times. But the first time you go through an audit, you are scared. I'm not, because you don't know. You're not being deceitful. You just don't know if you documented it.
You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you're looking there going, oh my gosh, how much am I going to owe? Am I going to get penalized? And then you realize, oh, well, if you're ethical and moral, you're doing right by doing right. But it's a scary thing.
I have a nightmare story. My beautiful wife is here today. You don't see her on the videos, but we had a local insurance broker, and was it work comp? You don't remember? Yeah, I had made this poor woman melt down in our office. She came looking for a $15,000 check, and it was because of something that they had done wrong. So it's very important to find the right people that you can trust, not just somebody that's just going to write you something so they can make a little bit of money off of it.
Casey, can you think of anything? In the pre-work here, we had identified. You may be talking a little bit about the myths and truths in insurance. Do you want to elaborate on that at all, or?
Gosh, I think that was more like you hear a lot of things on social media where, oh, I get 5 windshields a year because I live in Arizona.
Oh, that's good.
Go down that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we have a lot of listeners that have a lot of commercial vehicles.
Yeah.
So, is that true? Not really. No, that's a total myth. Should you have glass coverage? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I own 2 vehicles and they both have cracked windshields right now. That's just now my wife was driving both of those.
Okay.
When
Yeah,
that
well, yeah,
happened.
absolutely.
Wait till she listens or hears
yeah,
this.
He
Probably
did send the
listening
link.
right
Yeah,
now.
There's gonna be a third crack, but
Yeah.
probably not on the windshield.
Yeah, exactly.
Baseball bat.
Mhm.
So those are they're comprehensive. They're most of the time they're included, but they're also expensive.
Mhm.
And so there's a few different things going on here. So you've got cell phones. These are the worst things that have ever happened to commercial auto because people are just sitting there.
What?
Keep going.
I had a
Not
client
everybody here.
side note, I had a client who we gave him amnesty, gave the employees amnesty. You're not going to be in trouble, but what are you doing during your day? One guy, lead technician, said, I've been catching up on Sons of Anarchy. I watch it on my dashboard.
While he's
put
driving?
Netflix on while he's driving.
Wow.
Now we took steps to make sure that didn't happen. And every business owner, especially if you have a fleet, should. There's devices that can shut down cell phones to only utilize either GPS or the specific service.
Yeah, if you're listening right now, mark
see,
that time stamp down, and
see,
you
like,
need to go back.
This is the good stuff. Keep going,
Yeah.
Casey.
So those types of things exist. But then when it comes to like your auto windshield, some carriers, I'm not going to use any names or
Right.
anything, but some carriers may, if you've had more than 5 windshield losses, they might say, who's hitting this thing with a bat here? And then to mix in all of those signs that you see around town where, oh, $400, $500, $600 cash back for your windshield. Those what they're doing is that windshield company, that auto glass company is jacking up the price, charging it to your insurance company, and then handing cash back in the form of a refund. Does that sound good? Because all that's doing is driving everybody else's rates up.
So yeah, it was so funny when you jumped on the window thing. So there was somebody, I was reading something not long ago, and a lady was complaining that she had, and she thought this was normal. She had replaced, she got her insurance got canceled because she had replaced 7 windshields in 4 years. And the insurance company said that's excessive. And she was like, what do you mean that's excessive?
That's actually extremely excessive.
Yeah. She said, we've got a big family. We have lots of automobiles. They didn't care. And then people started chiming in. It was like, man, I may have replaced a windshield once every 3 years, So yeah.
Apparently you guys don't drive as much as I do, because I swear I get one about every 3 months on these roads.
Well, people are probably throwing rocks at you.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's very easy to do.
So here's one. I'm kind of playing just along with as an audience member here. You see all the trucks, commercial trucks around town where it's like they have the signs right on their trailer, like don't call us, rocks flying, all that kind of stuff. Is that how? Explain to the layperson how the insurance works on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably just one more way. I've never seen one that says, stuff happens with rocks.
Yeah, I have. And they're saying just stay back, whatever rocks.
Yeah, basically stay back.
Don't call us.
Don't call us. It's not our liability. It's the insurance is on you.
Right. And I mean, I'm not a lawyer or anything, but if I heard that, I'd say, like, prove that rock came from my client's truck. So
so let me ask it in a different format.
Sure.
If I'm following XYZ trucking and a rock flies out,
that's on you.
Right. That's the point.
Yeah.
Is I just wanted
it's not on the trucking company.
It's not on the trucking company.
Right.
You're on the road. That is what it is. Now, side note.
Yes.
Those signs that you'll see on an HVAC or a plumbing company that say, how's my driving, or no cell phone in here, or anything like that. Those signs are more effective than you can even imagine. So if a business owner, if you have those signs on your vehicle, you'll see an automatic reduction of like 25% of your claims that come down, just because the driver is now mindful of someone, some Karen or something could call my boss.
If you're named Karen, we apologize.
Sorry about that.
No.
Especially the owner of this place.
Wait
till she hears this one.
Don't worry, Karen. No, you did fine.
Not that Karen.
Yeah.
Different Karen. But those signs on the back of those service technician vehicles are extremely effective.
Man, we got money at about the 30-minute mark, and it's just rolling now.
Yeah, no. So let's keep going. This is getting good now.
It really is good.
This is like the secrets and the myths of this. So keep going, Casey. But on that, before you get on to the next secret, is there anything more like that? You mentioned the 2. What about the ones that have the speed limit ones?
So cell phone control, the signs. Like a governor, like you can't go above 55.
Well, let's be honest. Some of them just print it.
Right. So what a lot of them are doing now is, and these are great tools. So not only shutting down someone's phone, but having a score, essentially. So having a driver score. So my best clients are where the owner is engaged with his clients, having safety meetings and showing them, hey, here's my score. My score is an 89. And I got an 89 because this morning I had a hard break because a dog went out into the street. So whether you're accelerating, hard brake, those are all things that can count against you. You can get this on your personal insurance as well, but on the commercial side, they're a little bit more advanced with the application.
Can you get it for just your spouse's vehicle only?
I'm sure.
She's looking at you.
Yeah, it's okay.
With the evil eye.
I'm just curious, but yeah.
So that driver score can affect premium. It can affect rankings. I know companies that have said if you fall below a specific score, whether that's for hard braking, for speeding, for acceleration, those types of things, then you're either going to be written up, or we're going to let you go, or you'll put you on some type of warning.
Now I worked for a place, and I don't remember, maybe it was Sprint at the time or something, but they have devices that plug into the computer of your vehicle, and they keep track of all of that, and it shows up on a computer in an office somewhere of hard brake, quick acceleration, speed limits over, whatever. Are they taking that data and then using it to prove to an insurance company that they are following these guidelines or to create that score?
Yeah, and that's really the point behind it,
Mhm.
is to build accountability,
Mhm.
essentially. So accountability of the driver, of the company, that have a safety culture,
Sure.
so to speak. But when it comes to um, analyzing that, I would say that the small business, what they might use that for, I don't know. They could use it for routing and those types of things.
But aren't they just using it more to get their premiums down? I mean, isn't that what we're
Exactly.
talking about?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, another one is I know that particular one that I'm talking about, measured how much an engine sat in idle. So when you're in the service business, as a guy just sitting out in front of an address for a long time before he goes to the door. Anyway, yeah, we'll take a break. Be right back and finish it up.
There comes a time when dreams become a reality, when you see your vision materialize into a true work of art. And the only way to get there is to choose a general contractor who shares that same vision and knows how to bring it to life. At Blue Wave, we aren't so big that we've forgotten where we've come from, and we aren't so small that we can't care for your projects regardless of their size. When your vision deserves safety, perfection, timeliness, and expertise in order to become a reality, trust Blue Wave to get it done right the first time.
Okay. Next.
Well,
we've
so we got into these nuggets about commercial auto, and I'm thinking, wow,
this is like the top secret stuff, like the double secret probation, stuff.
Well,
it's
funny because I think every business owner, entrepreneur, even maybe some managers that are listening, watching, you forget about all these little nuances that when they sit down with their Caseys of the world and go, oh, well, why, back to before, are you really reviewing your policy each year and going through those things? So on that, back to, I was going to go down what you were already talking about with the GPS and those, because I remember plugging those in on my personal thing, with my carrier. Right. They were like, hey, do this for a month and we'll see. And it was a huge savings.
Yeah.
But is there anything that's being done in that regard on the CGL side? Is there anything that is being tracked and using technology now to get your premiums down on the CGL? Because I can't think of any that would apply.
No,
but are there secrets there too, Casey?
Well, again, making sure that your classification codes are lined up for your general liability. And I'll tell you what, liability insurance compared to the exposure is cheap. If you are interacting with the public, if you have a business, you should have liability insurance no matter what. Not only is it going to protect you in the here and now, but it can protect you in the future. So if you look at a commercial general liability policy, you'll have per occurrence, and that's typically dealing with like bodily injury. But there's also a nugget in there that says each occurrence, but then the aggregate, and then products ongoing and completed. That could also cover projects. So if you're a contractor and you have a claim 6 months after the completion, you could fall back on that general liability policy.
You build a building and it falls down. Well, somebody else builds a building and it falls down.
Yeah, I don't. Thank you for rephrasing that.
Yeah, because you wouldn't build one that fell down. Yeah, I've been saved by general liability. I was in the underground utility business, and you can imagine you hit fiber optic cable, sprinklers and flood people's houses. And
the worst spot for those are actually in New York.
Seriously.
Yeah. and they'll get super, I mean, in anywhere
Mhm.
will get super technical, but that builder, that developer, you own that sewer line, those underground utilities, you
Mhm.
own those until the street. And if you hit any one of those,
Right.
there, in a past life, we dealt with a underground utility that had to be ripped up for 2 miles. It was $11 million claim. So
A claim
claim,
for $11 million.
yes,
Ouch.
yes, that business went out the window.
Yeah.
after, 'cause you
Even with
screwed up.
insurance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did the insurance cover it?
They did
Mhm.
eventually,
Mhm.
but it's a claim. And then you have things like loss runs, which is basically
Yeah.
your
How are they going to
experience.
get insurance in the future?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Because
Exactly.
certainly they were canceled by that carrier.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's your advice on liability. What about advice on umbrella?
So with an umbrella,
As again, think of it in the context of a small business owner.
yeah. So one of the most important things, like when I'm working with my clients, I always ask my clients 3 things. When was the last time you reviewed your insurance? That's the basic.
What's the answer to that?
Some people are extremely hands-on. Some people, I have one client who hadn't reviewed their insurance since 2006. They had a $70,000 spend. We did a simple review. There was projects in there that they hadn't touched that were completed 10 years ago, and we reduced their spend to $40,000. They bought a piece of capital equipment and opened a new division.
That's just good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when was the last time you reviewed your insurance? What are you doing to reduce your tax liability? And then what are you doing to attract and retain top talent? All 3 of those questions are centered around growth. I can help in all 3 of those areas beyond just placing insurance.
There you go.
Okay. But when it comes to specifically like an umbrella policy, everybody should have an umbrella policy. You should have a personal umbrella policy just because. Now, there's certain things that need to be met, certain criteria that need to be met for an umbrella policy. But again, you're talking coverage beyond $1 million, $2 million.
Again, it's catastrophic.
Catastrophic.
You're looking for this
Catastrophic.
stuff.
We had a client who they had a $10 million umbrella policy. One of their drivers slid into a group of bicyclers and put one in a wheelchair and killed another. How do you put the price of somebody's life on a piece of paper?
Mhm.
You have an umbrella policy that helps. And will it bring you to your knees? Yes, absolutely. Will it be emotional? Yep. Is it going to hurt? Yes. Yes, it is. But without that umbrella policy, you're going to end up in an apartment building because they're going to take every single asset that you have.
Right.
Sure.
In that case, did it protect them?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But then beyond that, who handles your media? So you kill a bicycler. Hello, I'm from Channel 12 News. I'd like to ask you a few questions,
Yeah.
So what do you say to the reporter who shows up?
Right.
Those types of things. So it goes beyond just insurance.
Sure. Absolutely. But you said you made the comment, and I'm missing how you phrased it, forgetting how you phrased it, about keeping your talent or upgrading your talent.
Attracting and retaining top talent.
With insurance?
Sure, absolutely. When someone gets a new job,
Mhm.
beyond bragging about the job, beyond bragging about the salary or the location or even what they're doing or the name of the company, the first thing that they're going to talk to you about is their benefits.
Bingo. I feel like I just hit it over the fence because I was trying to figure out a way to get that in there, and I was like, he's going to say it. He's going to say it.
So
It's
so as a business owner, are you going to give your employees benefits because you really, really like them? No, you're going to give it to them because there's tax advantages with it. There's a way to hide is a tough word.
Yeah, but I understand it. Yeah.
But you can invest in plans where compensation can be pushed aside.
Yeah, deferred.
Deferred. Thank
Yeah.
you. That was the
Mhm.
word I was
Yeah.
searching for.
Yeah. Look, boy, you got things going on in the mind right
Yeah,
now.
I got smoke coming out of my ears
Yeah.
thinking about this because I was with a gentleman over the last few days that he was talking. He really got into a heavy conversation about benefits and insurance too, where in the environment that we're in right now, the conventional comp plans are just meaningless. They really are. You know, if you're not doing some very holistic things within your organization to not only attract but more importantly to retain, you're a has been. And so
Correct.
I think what Casey's hitting on is, you know, it's one thing to look at it through the employer's eyes of how does this do those things to get them and keep them there, but then conversely, what does that mean to those people that are, call it employees or contributors to that organization? It's just as important to them, or if not more important. So matching those up in today's environment, I think is critical for all of us.
Yeah, the whole piece of being able to attract or retain that talent with the tool of insurance, health insurance, is amazing. Especially
Well,
when you
it's-
get to be an old man like me. It's important when you're going to a new place.
Well, it's beyond that. I mean, let's go down. I mean, you could offer short-term, long disability, long-term disability, um,
Oh,
you know, dental, even though those are kind of healthcare related. And Casey, I'm sure there's 5 or 6 other, you know, ancillary things that people are throwing out there because they bundle it, or like what we do. I don't know what you do at yours. We have a base, and then that we pay for exclusively, 100%, and then we offer other things as a pre-tax benefit to the employees. And I think a lot of employers look at that as well, right, Casey?
I mean, just think of something small like pet insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Would have never thought of that one.
Pet insurance.
No, I actually heard that one, and I think that my employer does that. Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And the number of people that could use pet insurance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Daryl, do you have pet insurance?
Do you have a pet? Okay.
Okay.
So, it's interesting you brought all this up. The place that I'm working for, that I've gone to, which is also our sponsor, Torrey Contracting, is the first place that I've ever been to that pays 100% of everything. Whether it's your dependents,
With the dependents.
everything.
Yeah, we do
Wow.
the same thing.
Do you?
Yeah.
Good for you.
We did it because, back to what you were saying, it was conscious capitalism and doing the right thing. If you take some things just off the table, then you can focus on other things that really matter. And to me, that when we looked at it from a financial perspective, it was almost a no-brainer. It's like, really, let's just do this.
So you had to take the attitude and the approach on this. My father-in-law's taught me quite a few things in the financial world. So one, he who pays owns, but pigs get fed and hogs get slaughtered. Okay. So if you come in at the state minimum of benefits, which is 50% of just the employee only, and then put everything else, you know, if they've got 4 kids and they got to pay for their wife, well, now all of a sudden they're coming out of pocket like $1,500, $2,000 a month. That might hurt versus, hey, we can still capture the tax benefits as a company on this and retain this over a longer period, because odds are that employee is now going to stay with you for 5 years.
It takes
7
it out
years.
of the conversation.
Absolutely.
It just is no longer a part of, well, I've got to go somewhere because I've got to have good benefits.
I will tell you though, that's extremely rare.
Oh, it's the first one that I had ever heard of. And so I get the stuff and I'm looking through it, you know, doing my whole thing. I'm like, oh, that's 100%. Oh, dental. Oh, that's 100%. Everything's 100%. I was floored.
Yeah, there's so much that goes into it. Like I got a text message the other day that says, what's the co-insurance next to my deductible? Well, you got to pay that too.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah.
And it can be confusing. And when someone's picking a benefits provider, make sure that you get one who's going to spend the time with your clients and have those ongoing educational meetings, because that's another way that you can retain that talent.
Yeah, I'm glad we finally got into all the down and dirty stuff.
Yeah, we started off
massaging
around it, and then we got deep
we
into
finally
it.
just ripped this Band-Aid off.
With that, I think just kind of going to wrap it up here, Casey, but I want to leave a couple messages, I think, and that is, for the audience out there, the main reason, or one of the main reasons I wanted to get Casey on was, again, give other inspiration outside of what Robert and I are doing in our podcast and a bunch of our peers, with the help of what Karen and Daryl are doing here at Max 6 and Phoenix Business Radio X. But, to take your inspiration of where you kind of did this organically on your own, creating Casey's Corner, really paying it forward, the conscious capitalism, those kind of things of being an ambassador of Quan in your neighborhood and in your community. That was the cool message for me that I wanted to get out, because in building Arizona, the way we're doing this, there's so many more people connected to building Arizona that I think are in the small to medium business group versus the, some of the juggernauts that we've had on as guests. And that was the connection that I wanted to have you on for. So I think, for those of you listening and watching, if Casey can do it, and two old curmudgeons like us can do it, anyone can do it.
No, and it was, and
Thanks.
and I just thought it was awesome when you started. I was like, oh wow, this guy belongs here. It's good stuff, and I really hats off to you. I mean, I tell people this all the time. It works. Showing up every day, being consistent, just doing your thing, but doing it every day. Just stay at it. Number one, you get better at it, but it really does work, and people do start watching for it, following. They'll go back and say, I know somebody that puts on, but he's probably touched on this, and then goes back and finds somebody that.
Well, the classic one I was thinking the other day was, I think you had a painter. How many times do you get asked, hey, do you know a painter? Now,
all the time.
No offense, but I get that hit up all the time.
Yeah.
And yes, I know a bunch of them, but more on the commercial side than the residential.
Correct.
And the first thing I'd be like, oh, who's that guy on Casey's?
Yeah.
Now, why did that stay in my subconscious? Because it was video.
Sure.
First of all, not something print. And we know the impact of video over anything else. So I just think that's another testament. I get it. And on that, the other thing is other advice takeaway for those of you watching and listening, don't be too afraid to ask the tough questions on the insurance. Sit down with your agent and broker, and you're not an expert at that, just like a doctor writing a prescription. That's Casey's language.
That's
whether it's Casey or whoever you have as your agent and broker, sit down and ask those tough questions, because understanding that will save lives and you a lot of exposure and risk.
And save you some money. How do people get a hold of you, Casey?
You can find me on Facebook.
Okay.
Casey Kendel. I also have a Facebook group, Casey's Corner, that you can find. My website, prosperitynorthadvisors.com. My email, casey@prosperitynorthadvisors.com. And my office number, 480-730-2430.
And you're going to see all this information on our website, Phoenix Business Radio website, on our YouTube channel. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're going to add other content other than just podcasts. You'll see stuff on there.
We're excited for the next chapter.
And again, every Friday now, 3 p.m. Mountain Standard. I'm sorry, Monday. Good. I saw the look in your eye, and you were like, he's old guy in it again.
Hey, it's Monday.
Yeah, Monday. Thank you. Monday, 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. This has been a blast. They always go by too fast.
Yeah.
And most all go by too fast. And it was a pleasure having you on.
Thanks, Casey.
Thank you very much.
All right.
You've been listening to the Mac and Blue Show, brought to you by Torrey Contracting and Blue Wave General Contracting. Be sure to subscribe to the Mac and Blue podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Follow Robert Johnson and JJ Levensky on LinkedIn and Instagram. Tune in live every first and third Thursday at 3 p.m. as we continue to introduce you to the people building Arizona. Walt Disney said, "You can dream, create, design, and build the most wonderful place in the world, but it requires people to make the dream a reality." Until next time, make it a great day.